Welcome to Mishna study, Masechet Kilayim, Perek Bet, Mishna Bet. Continuing on some of the fun stuff over here. Over here, we're going to speak about Kilayim, the measurements of Kilayim. But over here, we're going to focus on planting seeds, right? So let's say you had a turnip or radish seeds, right? These are seeds that you don't eat, right? It's not like grains where the seeds that grow, you eat those. These are seeds that you plant in the ground and they grow into something else. Now, something like this, we're going to have a different measurement for these. It's going to be, we're going to speak of it, it's going to be Halacha Moshe Sinai, as we'll mention. But let's jump into this Mishnah and we'll explain the differences between last Mishnah versus our Mishnah. What are we speaking about, right? In last Mishnah, when we said it's 1/24th that got mixed in, that would make something Kilayim. That measurement of 1/24th, when does that apply? Tivuah b'tivuah v'kotnit b'kotnit, tivuah b'kotnit v'kotnit b'tivuah. Right? If you're mixing grains with other grains, right? Wheat and barley, or kotnit b'kotnit, peas and chickpeas, right? Different types of legumes. Or if you had a grain that mixed with the legume or a legume mixed with the grain, right? All those is everything that we spoke in last Mishnah. That's 1/24. Right, that's what we mentioned in the last Mishnah. That's the measurement, right? That if the ratio was, if there was more than that ratio, then you would have to separate it out, right? That's everything we spoke about. But be'emet, right? Be'emet literally means truthfully. Harambam points out anytime we say be'emet, it's halacha Moshe Sinai. Right, this is what he says a few times. He mentioned it in the introduction to the Mishnah. Over here, he mentions it as well also, that what? Zir'onegina, right? Zir'onegina are the seeds themselves that aren't in, but rather they're the ones that are planted, right? Similar to what? Like Harambam says, similar to the seeds of a radish or the seeds of a turnip or karpas, right? Of a lettuce, right? All those things, these things are planted, right? So over here, what's the law? מצטרפים אחד מ-24 1/24 בנופל לבית סאה. Right? What literally falls in a bet seah. Right? Interesting. One word changes over here. Last Mishnah we said, right? It's the language was, I'm going to read it to you. כל סאה שיש בה רוב הזרע ממין אחר ימעט. Right? A quarter of a kav of one min, you have to separate. It's Yemayit. Over here, we're saying if it's 1/24th of what falls into a bet seah. So how do you explain this? Rambam explains. What are we talking about over here? When you're going to plant your field, if you have a seah, a field, right? That's a bet seah. How much is a bet seah? Bet seah is 50 amah by 50 amah, so it comes out to 2,500 square amot, right? 2,500 square amot is about 25,000 square feet. If you want to, convert it to feet, I think that's what it comes out to. So 2,500 square amot, you're going to plant that. How much seeds do you need in order to plant that field? Right? That's what we need to figure out. Well, we need to know that. Harambam says, the Talmud Yerushalmi explains, that amount of seeds is a kav and a half. Kav v'chaitzi. A kav and a half of seeds that's what you use as a measurement in order to plant that whole bet seah. Now, what are we saying in our Mishnah? A 24th of that, a 24th of one of 1.5. What's a 24th of 1.5? Right, 24 of 1.5 comes out to a 16th, a 16th of a kav. If that falls, right, that's what beno for the bet seah is. If that falls into a seah, we need to add those words in the Mishnah. If that 1/16th falls into a seah, a 16th of a kav falls into a seah, which is 6 kav, right? Then it's going to be kilayim. What does that measurement come out to? It comes out to 1/96, right? So a little over 1%, as opposed to last Mishnah, which is about 4%. Over here, you see it's much more strict if you have much less, right, of these turnip seeds, right? If you have 1/96th of it, even so, that would be Kilayim. Now, Rabbi Shimon comes in and comments. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Kashem shamru lachmir, Kach amru lehakel. What does Rabbi Shimon say? So over here, a lot of Mefarshim speak about this. Harambam is unique over here, different than Bartenura. I'm going to explain according to Harambam. Harambam says that Rabbi Shimon, first of all, he said something in last Mishnah, and he's commenting on last Mishnah. So leave the planting seeds a second. Go back to the grain. Remember when we spoke about the grain? Keshem shamru le'achmir. In last Mishnah, right? Rabbi Shimon, what did he say? Lo amru ela mimin echad. Right? The only time the wheat, the barley, and the peas, right? Well, not wheat, barley, right? The wheat and if you had wheat and you had 23/24 of wheat and 1/24 of barley, that would be no good. But let's say it was a 48th of barley and a 40th of peas. Rabbi Shimon said, Lo amru ela mimin echad. That would be okay. Right? Rabbi Shimon was matir in that case. So over here, our Mishnah, what's our Mishnah saying? Keshem shamru, shne minim en mitztarfim le'achmir. According to the opinion that said that, right, which is actually not Rabbi Shimon's opinion, but according to the opinion in last Mishnah that said that two minim, the barley and the peas, a 48th and a 48th, they do not combine, right, in order to make this asur, right? We'll look at each one individually separate. And if this fell in, we'll say this whole mixture of the wheat, the barley, and the peas is okay, right? So too, so too we say that two different seeds are not mitzaref in order to be mekel. So the same way we said in last Mishnah that we are not mitzaref to be mahmir, we're also not mitzaref to be mekel. How will we not mitzaref to be mekel? Let's say you had 22.5 of wheat, right? And you had half of barley, right? So you could say, oh, look, let's combine these two. We'll be at 23. And if you have a little less of 1/24 of lentils that falls in, that would be okay. Because between the wheat and the barley, that would be enough to overlook the lentils. It would be enough to dilute it, right? And say it's batel. We don't look at it to be mekel. Because wheat and barley are kilayim with one another, we can't say we're going to combine the two to be mevatel, the lentils. Rather, we need to look at each one individually, separately. So that's how Rambam explains this piece of what Rabbi Shimon is saying over here. It's interesting, right? Because Rabbi Shimon, according to Rambam, is not commenting on he's commenting on the regular opinion over there, right? Not his own. Then the last part of the Mishnah is accepted by all, right? This is everyone's opinion. Rambam says this is not the words of Rabbi Shimon, rather divrei hakol. And what is it? Hapishta b'tivua. Let's say you had flax seeds that mixed in with grain. How do we view flax seeds? Do we view this as grain, or do we view this as the more like the planting seeds? So we say over here, right? We view like the planting seeds where it's 196 that falls in. Halacha is not like Rabbi Shimon, and that sums up our Mishnah. A little bit complicated, a little bit math, but it's fun if you follow along.